I'd really like to pressure Princeton in the clear and just force them to be uncomfortable. And I also am going to look at shot selection. You know, I wouldn't want to shoot Ryan Croddick hot. He's shown that he can take over a game.
Dash Sachs, the senior from Westport, Connecticut, wins the opening faceoff, and Brown will go on the settled attack for the first time. Mateo Corsi, the Syracuse transfer, getting the start with the top midfield today as they work it behind the cage. Brady O'Kane, the freshman, Haverford School product, coming off a hat trick. There's a dodge and an early goal. Mateo Corsi at the top of the formation, and Brown on top 1-0.
I mean, it's a beautiful individual effort here, but I think this starts. I love the way that they came out of this game. They're super conservative the way they were moving the ball, and it's just a beautiful way to get someone up top and dodge one-on-one, and he just makes a nice play at the end there, I think, to split the double.
Had a 4-point game a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and if I'm Princeton, I think I want to make this into, you know, as much of a half-field game as possible. Their offense and their defense are pretty darn good, and I want to try to own the middle of the field.
Tucker Wade doing just that to tie it at 1, the sophomore with goal number 13 on the season. Such a talented sophomore class. It was the nation's #1 recruiting class, and on offense you've got Burns and Kabiri on attack, and Tucker Wade as good as it gets in the midfield.
He really impresses me. I've watched him, this season and obviously last, but he's so shifty. He's so hard to guard, and when you're a short stick, it's not easy to guard that back and forth, and I just love seeing him be aggressive early on in the game. I think they could probably push it a little bit more. There was a few of those shots, that I think they might have been able to pull the trigger on late in the shot clock. But I love, committing to the game plan of really trying to grind them down.
Princeton comes out with their second midfield today. That's Kramer, that 6'5" frame, right into the goalie, saved by Foley. Back up top. Underneath Molshine, shot with a tumble, came in from Wertheim, who's running with the second midfield today.
Oh, he had him.
Shot clock down to 10. Brown still trying to cycle it around. Here's Delasici up top, shot on the goal. Brady O'Kane, the freshman, and Brown back on top. After back-to-back shot clock violations, Brown again showing a lot of patience. Had it down on the turf a couple of times, but able to capitalize.
I know. I think they were pretty opportunistic here, just kind of going at the net and letting a few fly, but they're going to need to do this all day. I love how they're sort of bullying the short stick here, and the simple passes will work. Bump it one more, straight down, overhand, high to low.
3 freshmen on attack. O'Kane against one of the best in the Ivy League in Michael Bath. On a bounce out to the midfield, corralled by Corsi. And he'll look to go to work against Kelly. Corsi, left hand, pass down low, finds its way to Croddick.
He had it too. Princeton's got something.
Tigers in transition up ahead. Here's Friedman, the pole. Cooper Miller, the trailer, goes top shelf, and we're back tied up at 2. Princeton in transition.
Gotta love the up and out. Great job in transition. Nice little bump to Coulter, Mackesy, and then Cooper with a nice high to high, just gas down the middle.
Here's Corsi, who got the scoring started with the first goal of the game for Brown just a couple minutes into the contest. Working on Liam, Fairback gets a screen from Udo, the big freshman on attack. Brown's been patient, turning the corner. Easy stop for Croddick. Princeton comes away with it. Tigers.
And solid movement there. I like the right-hand take from Palumbo, something you don't see that often.
Courier 58 points, 56% on the face-off. 130 ground balls. Shot clock to 30. First good look by Mackesy. Clean save by Foley. Long carom. Here comes Mark Witt with the headman pass. Up ahead, Behrens in transition. Makes the feed. The shot saved by Croddick. Came in from Wertheim. It's kind of strange. You can say, okay, the guy you were covering had 4 goals and 5 points, but that's actually significantly under C.J. Kirst's season average. So you get to cover C.J. Kirst, and then your reward for doing a good job is Coulter Mackesy.
And it looks like Brown slipped into a little bit of a zone here, which Right as I say it.
Colin Burns takes advantage, and the Tigers have their first lead of the contest, 3-2, 5 goals by 5 different players in the early going.
Yeah, just as I was about to give them praise for slipping into a zone and throwing a little junk, I think Witt just goes upfield a little bit too much, and Burns has just done a great job. He's been hot recently.
Well, and who was Burns looking at? Number 2, Nate Kabiri. They were club teammates. They were high school teammates. They're in their second season playing together.
But he's also shown time and time again he can score.
We talked to Colin Burns after the victory last week against Vermont. Had a couple of goals where it didn't look like he had an angle, and I loved his line, did you have an angle? No, but the stick's got eyes. And speaking of having eyes, that's Kramer with a shot. Goal cutting across the center, and then he took some contact. That's Carson Kramer. It's 4-2 Princeton, but Kramer a little bit slow to get up.
Yeah, he took a pretty good hit. But, what I think is actually positive to note about this play, though, is where they're at in the shot clock. So in this era, right, when you start to get under 10 seconds, you want to make sure that you're not giving up transition going the other way. So a lot of times you don't want to go sort of south to north passes. What Kramer does here, though, is he gets it in a really strong spot.
Princeton, one of the least penalized teams in the country, just their 14th of the season, although they're 7th the past 3 weeks. Browns man up unit 28%, last in the Ivy League, 56th out of 74 teams. Princeton's man down defense has been pretty good, although a small sample size. Croddick with the clean save. Colin Molshine trying to run out the final few seconds on the man down. They get it back to Croddick.
I think he'll be all right long run.
32 goals, 57 points last year as a freshman. Was an All-Ivy selection. Kabiri, skip pass. Here's Mackesy. Mackesy against Cave, goes right side. He's a lefty, goes stick side high. Easy save, Foley. If you're Brown, that's exactly the spot you want to put Mackesy.
100%. And I think if you're Brown, you're kind of okay with that. Witt sliding up to Mackesy from about 9.
Right side, Cameron, extra pass. Tigers showing patience, 30 seconds left on the man up. Mackesy again bounces it, saved by Foley. Loose on the crease, and Foley is able to drop the lid.
That's a win for Brown. I think they threw, a little something down low. They were shutting Palumbo on and off as the ball rotated around. They get Foley into a spot where he's comfortable seeing that type of shot.
Mateo Corsi across midfield, penalty expires, but offsides. So Princeton will get it right back. Brown was up 1-0. Brown was up 2-1, but 3 consecutive goals have the Tigers on top. And there's Mackesy cutting in transition for the goal. Can't lose track of number 91. There's 4 in a row for the Tigers, and Brown will take a timeout.
Yeah, I think that's we're going to have to see the replay here, but just playing fast.
Coulter Mackesy, goal 155, now 8 behind the Tigers' career leader, Jesse Hubbard. And that's 4 in a row for the Tigers.
Yeah, it looks like Cameron just playing fast. Gets it up to Kabiri, and a great cut by Mackesy, an easy finish. He goes over the top, and he causes some commotion, but the throwback to Mackesy, who goes hard over the top, and the simple bumps are working.
No shot clock reset. Palumbo seems to enjoy the contact. Flag comes out.
Great job by Foley there to stifle. I think it was Palumbo who was behind.
Tucker Wade, shot clock under 10. Mackesy over to Bonanno. He's a lefty. Shot clock ticking down. Gets the shot off. Finds its way to Foley, and he makes the save. He's got 6. Brady O'Kane, the freshman attackman, he had the second goal. Across the front through traffic, finds its way to Udo. Here's O'Kane, gets below the defense, saved by Croddick. Molshine had it, has it knocked away.
Ride.
Princeton defensively, you look at what they've done today, so now nearly a 16-minute scoring drought, and last week against Vermont Catamounts scoreless for nearly 23 minutes to start the game. Easy stick side save by Croddick. He's got 7.
Yeah, I think he's starting to lock in just a little bit. Starting on the left side with some pick action, moving the ball, and then just, again, it's always about those simple one-more passes. Not a bad look.
Shot clock at 10. Wertheim up top, shot stick side high once again, easy save. Came in from Delasici. Here's Aiden McLean. He's got 8 goals in 2 career games against the Tigers. Through Corsi, back up top. Anisudo, the freshman, on attack. Gets a screen, being lashed at by Spies. The bouncer and the goal. So Brown ends a lengthy scoring drought and some nifty effort by the freshman Enes Udo with his 4th of the season.
Yeah, and it's set up with some backside action, just starting to go at the Princeton defense, but ultimately, it ends up a one-on-one, and this is just pure muscle. He just puts his shoulder down and saying, I'm not going to be stopped.
Enes Udo, he's 6'2", 205. He was inside Lacrosse's number 77 recruit. Looks a little bit bigger than that.
They had it coming out of the clamp.
Princeton 0 for 1 on the man up. Coming into this one, the nation's top unit, 64.7%. Tigers cycling, stepping in Kabiri, and he capitalizes. Princeton gets that lead back, 6-3 Tigers. Another man-up tally. Princeton now 12 for 19.
Yeah, I think the hallmark of a great man-up is starting in one set and switching to another. So we'll start to see through this. They start in one set and then they start to rotate around. As you do that, you see Saris sort of start to crash to the crease. What that does, it brings the rest of the Brown long poles down, and it allows the skip over the top from Burns to Kabiri. Kabiri from that angle.
Princeton doubling up Brown here at home after the Bears beat Princeton in Providence last year. An upset win over then number 13 Princeton. Here's Saris running with the second midfield line. Did that get over the line?
I think it was in.
Let's wait for the call. The officials will converge. It's just got across the line, and that's a Princeton goal by Saris.
You gotta love that. So we were talking to Coach Madelon before the game about this a little bit, and we said, hey, how are you thinking about your midfield lineups? And he said, we're going to throw Braden Saris in there. One is a transfer guy, and we'll probably see this if we roll it back just a little bit further, but he's done a great job of being in the right spot during the right times. And on that one specifically, he got to the top of the box, transferred it to McAsee, but he did a really, really slick play. This is probably his Canadian background, where he cut across the face of his defender.
Saris, a couple of years ago, he opened the 2023 season, so his sophomore season opened as a starter, had 6 points in the opener, didn't finish the season as a starter, but has really done a great job the past 2 years playing his role and doing it well.
Absolutely.
Back to a 4-goal Princeton lead.
I think if I'm Brown, I got to figure out a way to get McLean involved a little bit more. You see he got really aggressive on that play, just taking it down the heart of the defense. I think if I'm Coach Wisnauskas, I'm trying to just find him for finish dodges.
There's a wraparound shot. Not sure if that was on Cage or not, but it'll be Princeton scooping it up and looking to clear with Molsheim.
I might call a timeout, maybe not, but purely just to say, let's end this on a high note. Let's figure out a way to make this an 8-3 game.
Peter Bonanno splits the defense, sticked aside, took some contact. Right to Nate Kabiri, comes topside, feet out in front, and they go right back to Bonanno for the top shelf goal. Second chance effort, pays off for the Tigers, and they're up 8-3, their largest lead of the contest.
It starts with Bonanno just going hard, and he takes a pretty big hit at the end there. I think we'll see it on the replay, but he just goes right down the heart of the defense. Foley, I think, makes a nice play on it, but Kabiri, picking up the loose ball, and Bonanno not giving up on it.
Starters back out for the Tigers. Burns, Kabiri, McAsee on the attack. Palumbo, Bonanno, and Wade on that top midfield line. Nate Kabiri stings it. Make it 8 of the last 9 for Princeton, and it's 9-3 Tigers.
Yeah, they kind of lulled them to sleep on the right side a bit. what I think that Jim Mitchell does a really good job of, he moves players all over the field. That's Kabiri on the left side of the field. So it starts with the two-man action on the right side, but he starts to lull in the Brown defense, creates a one-on-one on the backside with Kabiri.
O'Kane had a first-half goal after his hat trick last week, first of his career. Scandone lowers the shoulder through traffic, can't connect, but it comes to O'Kane. 15 on the shot clock. There's McLean and just never quite queued it up.
Princeton does such a good job in that zone of condensing space.
That's generally a hallmark of them. Matt Madelon in his 9th season on the Princeton sideline. Jeremy Hirsch, 7th season, former Princeton captain. He's the defensive coordinator. We've talked a lot about Jim Mitchell. He's in his 5th season. Browns made a change in goal. Andy Demopoulos out there to start the second half. So Demopoulos makes the save. Trying to fire up the Browns sideline. Let's see if the Bears can get one back in transition and try to climb back in. There's a shot in transition and a save by Croddick. Came in from Oliver Bly, a defensive midfielder. Ball still down on the turf.
Great ground ball.
Tigers, that's Hunter Spees, who's starting for the 2nd consecutive game. He was a top 20 recruit last year.
From his players, something that I respect about him, all of them are great riders. You know, that goes back to even when he was coaching Sowers. Sowers would say, you know, I'm not going to be able to play unless I ride, and that's straight from Coach Mitch.
Coulter Mackesy trying to go low, and another big save by Demopoulos, making just his 2nd appearance of the season.
He's on it. I mean, that's 2 shots in a row where I think he's read, you know, the shooter's stick.
Pretty good second half off the bench. Andy Demopoulos has made 3 early saves here in the 3rd quarter.
Yeah, he looks sharp.
Nate Kabiri, 2-man game with his high school teammate Burns, who fires high. Their starting goalie Foley, 6 saves, 9 goals allowed, played the entire first half. And the Tigers able to capitalize, and Princeton makes it 10-3. 7:32 to go here in the 3rd quarter.
We discussed this, I think, at the opener, right, a little bit. I mean, he's just confident, and he goes right at this matchup top side. What he does that I love is goes after his top hands and finish around him.
You know, you were kind of talking about Coulter Mackesy with a long stick. That would be fun. Other than that, AI did a pretty good job with that. What a year for attackmen in the Ivy League, though.
Absolutely.
Face-off win by the Tigers. Cooper Miller with another ground ball, and the Tigers right back on attack. Cutting across the front, that was Miller. Wonderful save by Demopoulos. Still a lot of lacrosse left to be played. Still 21-plus minutes in this contest. They'll start it all the way out by midfield. Corsi with a head of steam. What a save by Croddick going down low.
Yeah, that's just, it's a great spot if you're Corsi. But I like this adjustment from Browns for pushing out against these short sticks.
Sean Cameron on the move, the bouncer. Got through. Kabiri with the feedback up top. Kramer under his man. Couldn't put it on Cage, but takes a big hit. Matt Madelon springing off the sideline as the flag comes down.
Just trying to see where he got him at the end here. Oh,
Oof.
yeah.
They were 1 for 2 in the first half, so the Tigers now 12 for 19 on the season. Came in at 65%. Coulter Mackesy has 5 man-up goals. They go to Kabiri, and he goes high to low for the early man-up tally, and still 44 seconds on the clock. What a day by Nate Kabiri, the sophomore. He's got 4 goals and 6 points.
Yeah, another great job on the man-up of changing sets. So they do a little bit of action that we'll see. It was actually started with the fake flip. They kind of started into this sideways 3-3 and then morph into a 1-3-2.
Nate Kabiri working on a 6-point day for the Tigers. Shot clock down to 15. In the hands of Kabiri, takes it topside, skip pass across the back, and Coulter Mackesie's got another one. Princeton ran the shot clock down to 8 with an 8-goal lead, and they find their leading scorer, Mackesie.
Great execution. I was going to give Brown some credit there because of how they slid and recovered, but it's tough to manage Kabiri, and then on the backside you've got Mackesie. I mean, he just did a great job of dealing with pressure. And then when you get it to someone like Mackesie who can score it, 10 and in, he's pretty automatic.
Mackesie from X, top side, right hand, takes some contact from Witt. Now Kabiri, he's got a 7-point day, looking on the crease for Burns. He can't handle it. Cave with the box out. Burns, broken play, comes topside, dives across the front, stays out of the crease and scores. 5-point day for Colin Burns. He has his second goal of the contest.
It's a little bit of a chaotic possession there. I don't know how many switches there were. I love the way that they attacked people off of the switches, and then just pure hustle from Burns. This was the stuff that we were talking about earlier in the game. That just kind of shows up as a goal on the stat sheet, but making something out of nothing. There's a broken play, and he's able to pick it up and then takes the extra step to dive across the crease and finish.
Ennis Udo, the freshman, now McLean, who's got just one shot today. Brady O'Kane, the freshman, has one of the 3 goals, and now he's got 2 of the 4 Brown goals as the Bears on the scoreboard for the first time here in the second half, and it comes with 27 seconds to go in the quarter.
Really, really slick play and high degree of difficulty here. Starts with the spacing. And I like how they're attacking the short sticks. If you're Princeton, I think you're saying, hey, we'll give that up. Most times I think Croddick is going to make that, and we're forcing him into a slide. But O'Kane says, I'll do you one better. And that is just an extremely difficult shot to make. Yeah, well, first off, that was a nice little play by Friedman right there. He picks up the ground ball. There's a bit of chaos, and, I overlooked it for a quick second, and I thought, that was pretty nice.
That was pretty nice as well. Tucker Wade had an early goal for the Tigers. Wade's got his second, and it comes against a new goalie for the Bears, their third netminder of the day, Harry LaFerriere, coming in. Good job by Wade, the sophomore.
Yeah, we've discussed this before, but, I'm a big fan of his game. I think he is a really tough cover, especially for a short stick.
17th career game over 3 seasons. You saw the note, pretty athletic family. Got the start last week as they gave the scout team the start, played the first minute in 57 seconds. There's a good look. And that sneaks past Croddick. It's a goal by Rockefeller. And Brown back within 9. Croddick made the initial stop, and it just trickled in.
Yeah, great set here. I think they start in a 1-4, but then on the backside they have some action where the top man sort of carries towards the middle of the field. And then just a simple little throwback, actually. There wasn't a ton of movement.
COVID year where there weren't games scheduled, and they were trying to fill the roster in to be able to still run some practices. Brown looking to just string together a couple of possessions and make this one a little bit more manageable. There's Witt with the ground ball. Shot on the run, tried the bouncer, save, came in from Wertheim.
Yeah, and I think, to go off of your point earlier, right before the Wade goal, what to kind of focus on in this last quarter. If I'm Princeton, it's all about our sets.
Colin Burns, he's got a hat trick, so the third different Princeton player with a hat trick today. He's got a 6-point contest, and the Princeton lead back up to 10.
And it's a pretty simple play by Burns, but it goes back to all the little, fundamentally sound things that he does. His guy sort of turned his head or was giving him, a sliver of light, and all he did was just sort of fill the vacancy. But it's a really nice shot going upfield, makes it look routine. He just picked it up in a crowd, then sort of got assaulted by 4 different Princeton guys and then was able to get it out of his stick.
Somehow maintain the handle. Brown will go to work on the attack. I said third Tiger with the hat trick. Burns has a hat trick. Kabiri's got 4 and another one that trickles in for the Bears, who are trying to make a little bit of a late run. You talked about it. It started with the ground ball, and then they're able to keep it alive. Scandone, the junior from Allentown, Pennsylvania.
I'm going to let the clip play for a second.
On the feed from Udo.
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Pretty well covered by the defensive midfielder Liam Fairback for the Tigers.
Well, look, it's the right time for the play, too. You know, you talk about coaches who say, the behind-the-back play, it's showing off. It really isn't. He did a great job.
Scandone had the last goal. Here's O'Kane looking for another hat trick, and it's kicked aside by Croddick. He's got 16 saves.
Oh, great job by Brown here. Oh.
Kabiri's got 4 goals and 7 points. So Princeton's got 3 freshmen among the 6 on offense, 49 on the shot clock. Vana will reset. Jake Vana, freshman, Boxford, Massachusetts, out of St. John's Prep. Big guy, 6'1", 200 pounds, short stick matchup, turns the corner, and he's got his first career goal. And the sideline erupts.
Yeah, that seems to be a big one for them.
Had an assist earlier in the season a couple weeks ago, and Vana gives the Tigers the 10-goal lead back with his first career tally.
Yeah, and he earned that one. And you can tell how much he probably means to this team, whether it be, he's trying to get up either to the second or first midfield. He's giving, the starters looks in practice, whatever it might be. He can play.
Malkiel, 15 to shoot. Brody Upton, number 6. There's a shot by Kramer, and he's got another goal. Second of the day to go along with an assist by the sophomore Carson Kramer. And Princeton's got a 17-6 advantage, 7:35 to go. Timeout on the field, we'll take it as well.
Yeah, the Tigers just kind of grinded them down here. It changed fields, went through X, and then right at the correct moment made the one more pass.
Dunphy trying to get the hands free. Never quite got on Cage, hit Witt in the back. So no shot clock reset. 50-50 ball. It's Princeton, but they've got to hurry. Here's Hokinson, extra pass. Dunphy winds up, and it's kicked aside.
Nice save, and then nice pickup there by Witt.
Feel bad. We never talk to anyone on the defense, but the offense has just been so lethal here at Sherrod Field this year. Ball loose. Brown comes away with it. Scandone, the junior, with the ground ball.
Did you see how far out Vickery was on that save?
There's a shot sticked aside by Vickery. Pops straight up, and it stays with Wertheim. Princeton now some subs on defense. Kevin Morrow's out there on defense. Another save by Vickery. 2:09 to go, 41 seconds on the Brown shot clock. Wertheim, goal is open, nice turns the corner and scores.
Oh, and he paid for it at the end.
Wertheim missed last week's game against Cornell with an injury, and you're right, took some hard contact on the back end of the play to cut it to 10.
Yeah, and I know he's been nicked up, so this makes it an even more incredible play, but he beats the double and then pays for it at the end by getting to the front of the net. What an individual effort.
15 goals for Marcus Wertheim, came in tied for the team lead in points with Aiden McLean. Carson Kramer will try to jog around the midfield and run the final 20 seconds or so off the clock. Over to Cameron, toss into the corner, Upton. After Brown upset the Tigers in Providence, knocked them off late in the season last year. Princeton returning the favor here on a soggy Saturday in the Garden State. And it's a 10-goal Princeton victory to improve to 3-1 in the Ivy League. 17-7 your final score.